Hey, what's going on? Leon Thomas here. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 3 ways that you can actually start selling life insurance. So I'm going to be covering actually the 3 business models within the life insurance industry that you can actually start in. So you can actually pretty much make the best decision for yourself. I'm going to actually be covering the pros and the cons of each different business model, so you can actually make the best decision for you and your family, right? So, but before we dive into today's video, if you are a life insurance agent or you're looking to get into the industry, of course, if you're already a life insurance agent and you want higher comp, you want fresh exclusive leads, you don't want to be a captive agent, you want those day 1 renewals, you want free training, you want to learn how to sell online and or offline, of course, you can actually click on the link above this video. You can schedule a free strategy session with myself or someone from our team, right? And we'll reach out to see how we can help you, right? So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into the video here, right? So basically, there are literally 3 ways that you can start selling life insurance. And the important thing is you understand clearly how all these different models work so that you don't waste your time, because you don't have the right expectations or realistic expectations on what you can do and how you can hit your income goals in a timely manner, right? So the first way that I'm going to talk about here is the brick and mortar business model. And the brick and mortar business model, basically, that's your New York Life, your State Farm, your Allstate, all those big brands that most of us are familiar with because we see them on television. We've been seeing them for years. That's your brick and mortar business model. So let's go ahead and dive right into the pros of these business models. So the biggest thing that I found with this is, and it's really cool, it's not everything, but it's part of it, and that's brand recognition, right? So your brand recognition pretty much is, obviously it's good to be able to get into a house and sit down with a client and have the client say, yeah, we're familiar with, New York Life or State Farm or Allstate. We see their commercials all the time, right? Most of us know them. It's not everything, but it's something, right? Meaning, don't get hung up on it, because there's a lot of companies that are not on television that don't advertise every day. They got just as much money as your New York Life, State Farms, and Allstates, those big brands. And people still know about them because they've been around for years, but they just don't advertise on television, right? So don't think that that's everything, but it's just something, right? And if you're trained properly, it doesn't really matter anyways, right? But just something to keep in mind. The freedom here, I think it's still there, right? As far as the flexibility, obviously you can set your own time schedule. You can work whichever days out of the week you want. In most cases now with e-apps, you can sell just about pretty much from everywhere, especially with the COVID-19, the pandemic, I should say. Everyone's selling online, offline, telephone, Zooms, things like that. So you still have the freedom, lifestyle, right? Right, you have the lifestyle. So meaning you can set your own schedule, right? However you want to do your business. You're not necessarily, being controlled as far as, when you can work. But I would say one of the cons as well is business, right? And when I say business, what I mean is with a lot of these companies, you have to write consistently. And not that, the other companies don't, but a lot of these companies, they demand that you write consistent. If you don't, you can get a lower comp. They can lower your comp anytime. And there's just a lot that goes with it. They can even terminate you if you don't write a lot. So they want you to come in and write. Not that the other businesses don't, but you don't have any pressure on you to write. If I can say that within means, right? So they want you to have, consistent business, which if you're in the business to make money, you're going to, but they do have some restriction with that and things like that. So just keep that in mind. Another one I would say, this is actually a con, kind of going into the cons, but on the cons here, let's kind of dive into that, because this is pretty much what you have on your pros. The cons, of course, and another one I would say is 25 to 50% comp. So it's usually a low comp, maybe a little bit higher, just give or take probably who you're signed up with. It all just depends on who you're with, right? But there's a lot to get that increase, right? So we start off, most of our agents off at a minimum of 100% comp, so it's completely different. Imagine, doing the same work from 50% to 100%, how much your income would increase, right? So keep that in mind. I wouldn't get out of my bed for 50% comp, but that's just me, right? Another one of the cons I would say is, of course, obviously you're captive, right? You're a captive agent. That's crazy, right? No one wants to be captive. What captive really means is you can't write business with anybody else. So once you sign that contract, you're actually there. You can't do business with nobody else. basically the company's asking you to marry them day one, right? So just be sure that you know everything that's, that you can and cannot do, what you have at your disposal as far as resources, what's required of you before you decide to go as a captive agent, okay? Most people that are coming to this industry, they don't want to be a captive agent. They want that liberty to just kind of do what they want, not in a negative way, but just to have the liberty, right? They don't want to be bound to anything, right? Non-captive agent, you can pretty much leave anytime you want, as long as you don't have any, debt or any bad business on the books, okay? So they want you to be a captive agent. So you can't do anything with anybody else. You're there, you're locked in with them, and that's basically it. You can't date it like that, right? If you will, business terms, okay? Another thing that I found out with this here is they, only have one product, okay? And this is huge, right? Because what I learned was that the name of the game is whoever can be of the most value to the people that they serve are going to win. And so most of these companies here just have a one product. They're one product companies, so they just have a typical whole life policy, which is in most cases fully underwritten. What that means for you is it takes a lot longer to get paid, right? So a fully underwritten product in most cases is going to take, a phlebotomist is basically going to come out go to the client's house, take a blood, urine, and saliva sample, take it back to the lab, maybe take a week or two to confirm, approve, or deny that client, and then you're getting paid 30 days, maybe 60 days out in some cases. It just depends on the carrier of the product, right? And so you're talking 30 to 60 days, right, to the money, right? And no one really wants to get paid that, that far out, right? And so these are just some of the cons that I've learned. We're getting paid in 48 to 72 hours. I'll get to that in a minute. But doing something today and you don't get paid till 30 to 60 days out is a long time. And just imagine if you're not writing business every day, what that's going to look like for you. It's going to be very hard to stay in business, okay? The other thing that here is that they don't have leads, right? So what I learned quickly was that, most people just don't know how to market, and that's okay, right? But if you don't know how to market and you don't have leads, you don't have a business, right? So your brick and mortars pretty much, they don't really have leads. And if they do, they're offering them to you with some type of contingencies. And in most cases, it's going to hit your comp, right? Because they're giving you some leads if they are at all. But most of them, they don't even have leads. And so it's going to be very hard to sustain a business because, as you know, if you don't have any lead flow, you don't have no cash flow, which means you're out of business, okay? But the one product thing, I want to kind of touch back on that. It's very important. And that's because you have to think about, you're going to be meeting clients that are homeowners, have 401k, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things like that. And you want to be in positions where you can serve them, not just with one product. And, God forbid if they get denied, boom, you lost business, right? So in most cases, what ends up happening is, yeah, you might write some policies, but you're going to meet people that you can't help because it's fully underwritten. And you have to be really healthy to get a fully underwritten product in most cases, okay? So just keep that in mind. A lot of it here, what I learned is that no marketing. Okay, let me kind of write that again. So what I mean by this is you have to be careful how you market. So these companies actually literally watch you. They will watch your social media stuff, and they have a lot of red tape as far as what you can do, right? And so basically, they want to protect the company's name, and so they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that you don't do anything wrong. Not that you're out to do anything wrong, but they are watching you like a hawk, literally, to make sure that you don't go outside of their guidelines. So a lot of these companies have guidelines as to how you can share the fact that you are an agent. And there's a lot of things in marketing that a lot of people want to do, but these companies won't let you do it. So such as like doing podcasts and a lot of different marketing videos and things that you say in your ads, if you're running ads, things like that. They really check you, right? And so they have guidelines that they want you to abide by. And if you don't abide by them, they'll cancel you, right? They'll terminate your contract and you won't really be able to write business with them. So there are some things you can do within reason, but a lot of the times they have some very, very, very strict guidelines that they want you to abide by. I had a friend that's actually in one of these companies, unfortunately, and it's not the bash. But I remember I asked if I could do a podcast with him, and he said he had to ask the company first. And I thought that was kind of odd because I was like, hey, we're just going to talk about life insurance, give value, and just to promote it and help people, right? That's all we're looking at doing. But he said he couldn't do a podcast with me because he had to ask the company first. And so just be mindful that these are the type of things that these companies will do to you, if you sign up with them, okay? So these are just the things to keep in mind. So this is pretty much everything for the most part that I can think of that I've learned that I know to be true with this business model. Let's go ahead and dive right into the MLM model, right? So the MLM model is the next one that I would say. I came from network marketing, so I understand the industry for the most part. The pros, I would say, are the people and mindset, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, you got to understand, and you may know this or you may not, but there's only two things that comes with entrepreneurship for the most part. And what that is skill set and mindset, right? First thing, you got to have your mindset right to be an entrepreneur, regardless of what industry you're in, what you're doing. If you don't have your mindset right, you're not going to succeed at all because it's completely different than a 9 to 5. There are some parallels to a 9 to 5. There are some things that you can take from a 9 to 5 that you can use as an entrepreneur that will serve you well. But there are a lot of things that won't, right? And so as an entrepreneur, you have to focus on your mindset first. What I learned in MLM was that it's heavy on mindset. And so I'm grateful to the industry for that because it prepared me to be successful as an entrepreneur as I moved on from that industry into life insurance. But you can meet a lot of great people in the industry, right? The industry is awesome in that respect because you can develop a lot of good relationships with people that are far more important than any amount of money that you'll ever make. And that's what I learned. And so the great part about it is the mindset that you're going to prepare. If you really get into it and you're fully committed, you will develop a really good mindset and you're going to meet a lot of great people along the way. But the cons here is, a lot of these companies, of course, once again, they want you to be a captive agent, okay? They want you to be a captive agent. They don't want you to do nothing else. Like I said, I went over that already what that means. Another thing that I learned, most of them, they don't have any leads, right? So I get people called all the time, booking calls. Unfortunately, some of them join with us, some of them don't. But in most cases, they're calling because they don't have enough people to talk to. They're decent on business. They know how to write business, which isn't that hard anyways, only 5% of the business anyways, but they don't have enough people to talk to. And so these companies here, they don't have leads, right? They just don't have leads. So they got a bunch of people running around trying to sell, but they're not selling enough, so they're not in their income goals, and so they're struggling. The other thing, of course, is the cons, I would say, is you need a network, right? Right? You need a network. And I came from network marketing, so I clearly understood that in order for your income to build in that industry specifically, you have to build your network, right? And most people just don't have one or a big enough one. And most of them just can't build it in a fast enough time to see the money come in that they desire, right? And so in this industry, if you don't have a network, you're not going to make any money, at least not consistently. You might get some bonus money here and there. You may write a policy here and there, but unfortunately, you're at like a 25 to a 50% comp again, right? So you're not making a ton of money off the policy anyway. So it's a very ebb and flow business model. It's very, because it's heavy, it's recruit heavy, right? So, and it's recruit heavy. So if you don't build an agency, if you're not building it on the agency side, you're not going to make a ton of money. And so you don't have a network, so you're going to struggle. And the problem with that is it's mostly recruit heavy. And so they don't write a lot of business. They don't write as much business as like your IMOs do in most cases. They do a mixture, but it's mostly bent on recruiting you, right? So they can get paid off of you being a member and in their downline, right? And so those are a few of the cons. Another one, of course, in most cases, they charge for training, okay? They charge for training. I didn't like that. I think that, if agents are out there making money for the company, they shouldn't be charged for training. We don't charge for none of our training. I'll cover that here in a minute. But these are just some of the cons. Of course, like I said, it's a low comp. They don't have leads. You don't get renewals in most cases. And a lot of it's, you get an in-home cap, right? So your cap. In-home cap just literally means that you can only make so much in the home, right? That's what a lot of these companies are. You can, you can write 2-3 policies. You would think, hey, you're going to make, $1,800, $2,100, but you're capped off at like $1,000 or $800. And so it's just not really cool to know that, hey, you're putting out a lot of work, a lot of business and effort, but they're telling you can only make so much money in the home, okay? So these are just some of the cons that I know here in this industry. I want to make sure I'm looking at my list here. I don't want to forget anything. Most of this is referral based, right? So let me come back over here, right? Okay, it's referral based. And I always tell people, sustainable businesses, scalable businesses, they spend money to acquire their customers, right? Businesses spend money to acquire their customers. If you are going to try to build a business in this industry, or run a business, I should say, on referrals only, you're going to struggle. Okay, that's just the reality of it. It doesn't mean you can't build up referral base or you can't get good at it. Most people just don't. But regardless, it's very, very hard to scale a business based upon referrals. Okay, it's very, very difficult. Businesses spend money to acquire customers. That's just period, point blank. And really in advertising and marketing, I think Dan Kennedy said years ago, he said the business who can spend the most money to acquire the most people, who can spend the most money are going to make the most money, right? Whoever spends the most money wins is how he said it. And so when you are investing into leads and you get leads on a consistent basis, you're spending money. And you therefore are going to be in a position to serve more people, and in return, you're going to be able to make more money. Period, hands down, right? So just keep that in mind. I want to make sure I cover here everything. I want to make sure I don't want to forget anything here. But that's basically, those are your main things, right? Those are the main things, your pros and your cons, right? So last but not least is your IMO, right? Which is an independent marketing organization, okay? So the thing about IMOs, not all IMOs are created equal, right? But basically what we're doing, I was going to share with the IMO pretty much why people are joining this way. Number one is non-captive, right? That's one of them, okay? Number two, 100% plus comp, right? Number three, day one renewals, right? Right? So these are just a few. I'll cover more in a minute, but I want to talk about them a little bit. This is very important, right? So imagine, you're a non-captive agent, which means you can leave anywhere you go. You're not married to anyone. You're pretty much dating, right? Most people just prefer dating before they marry anyway. That's just life. That's how we do things, right? But you're a non-captive agent, which means, you know what? You have an opportunity to go and pretty much kind of see for yourself how a company works, their resources, how they do business, and if you like it. So you literally get to, try it out, if you will, taste test or sample or test drive, if you will, if it's going to be a good fit for you or not, right? So you're not being bound to a contract. So you're not being married to a contract. You can actually just test drive whatever system they have in place and see if you like it or not. You like it, you can stay. If you don't, you're at liberty to leave. As long as you don't have any debt, you don't have any bad business on the books, you're good, right? But the huge thing obviously is top comp, okay? Like I said before, it's very hard in this industry to make the money you want on a consistent basis or hit your income goals in the time frame that you want with 25 to 50% comp. That's just the reality of it, right? Because imagine, like I said, if you're doing 50% comp and my rep is doing 100% comp, but you're doing the same amount of work, you can see the difference. You might make $5 grand, they're making 10. You might make 10, they're making 20. Well, if you want to get to 20 versus 10 from a 10, well, all you got to do is just have a higher comp. But if you're at a lower comp and you're locked in there because of whatever reasons, it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very challenging, right? It's too much work to get your income goals, I would say. Okay, so you get your day one renewals. Okay, we talked about renewals. The big thing here, obviously, is leads. Okay, so we're going to have leads. So we have several lead vendors exclusive to you in real time. We have some aged leads, but we also have fresh new leads. And now, of course, as well, we have live transfers where you can literally have your phone ringing and people actually looking at buying life insurance. So you're not chasing family members and friends around. You're not simply just relying on referrals, but you have business moving forward. You're working business, right? The way businesses should, okay? The next thing here, of course, is free training. Okay? Free training is very important. We don't charge for none of our conventions, anything like that. Most IMOs don't. Like I said, not all IMOs are created equal, but most don't. So your training is free. All that stuff is free. I want to make sure I cover everything. No in-home cap is huge. Okay, no in-home cap is huge. Now, what I mean by that is, I kind of touched on this before, but keep in mind, some of these companies will tell you, hey, you know, if you wrote 3 policies in the home, well, you're only going to get paid for 1, right? And the max you can make off of that one family per se is $1,000. Some it's $800, some it's even less, right? So a lot of these companies will tell you, hey, yeah, go and, you know, they'll tell you the sky's the limits, but then they'll turn around and say, oh, you know what? You wrote, you know, a policy for Jim and Tammy and their daughter, but you know what? The annualized premium was like 44 grand, but we have an in-home cap of $1,000 or $1,500, right? So where you would have made, you know, more than half of that if you didn't have an in-home cap, because you got an in-home cap, you made $1,800, maybe $1,500 versus, you know, $3,500, right? So there's no in-home cap here. There's no in-home cap. You're gonna get 100% on every policy that you write with our IMO specifically. Like I said, not all IMOs are created equal, but that's pretty much how it goes. Like I said, we pretty much have every type of lead available, right? Like I said, all the training is free. So with that being said, pretty much, I hope you guys got a ton of value from this video. That's pretty much the pros and the cons of all 3. Like I said, you know, take a look at it. You know, you might want to do some investigation, whatever. That's up to you, obviously. But these are pretty much the base. This is how it is. But like I said, you know, this is for you pretty much to decide, so you can make the best business decision for yourself, for your family, right? So with that being said, of course, I hope you got a ton of value from this video. If you have, please drop a comment. If you got any questions, observations, just drop me in the comments, let me know, of course. And like I said, if you want to get started in the life insurance industry, if you're looking, you know, to go with actually, you know, a great company, like I said, I'm actually part of one of the fastest growing IMOs in the country right now, of course. So if you want to learn how to get started in the industry, you can actually click on the link above this video. You can schedule a live strategy session with myself or someone from our team, like I said, and we'll help you out. We'll see how we can help you actually get started. So with that being said, of course, till next time, I'll see you on the internet. Take care. Bye.